So for some mapping samples, although many firms may design their own mapping database, we have provided a default mapping database with our sample file that gets automatically installed with the software. And that happens to be what we're looking at right now in the SAMP01 file, again under engagement and mapping. The purpose of the default database is to provide a starting point for those who are designing their own mapping database and for some of the CaseWare templates as well. In designing this default mapping database, the following factors were considered. The lowest level of mapping detail that is sufficient to prepare the financial statements, including any detail required in the notes or any other reports, for example, if you needed further detail for tax presentation, etc., should be considered when setting up the map number. The system can be easily used for different sizes and types of engagements. The methodology can allow for new classifications without redoing the entire database, eliminating any unproductive client setup time. And the methodology allows users to add their own mapping component while still keeping in sync with the default mapping database. So here we have a 2-level map number. And in actuality, when we get into the options, we'll see that the mask actually demonstrates a 3-level map number. And this can be as long as 40 characters, alphanumeric, using decimals and dashes as tier levels. Now we realize that it may be overly ambitious to have one mapping database perform all the above without sacrificing some efficiency. It may become necessary to have more than one default mapping database, especially for different types of industries. So you may have a mapping database for a for-profit entity and a different mapping database for a not-for-profit entity, for example. Users should treat this default mapping database as a draft that may be changed in the future. For those users that add new map numbers, the Copy Components feature can help convert an old mapping database to a new mapping database. Under the File menu, we find Copy Components, and we can choose whether we're copying it into the file that we're in or copying it into a new file or an existing file. If I were to copy into this file, I can then select the template or other file that I want to pull it in from. And then I can pick and choose the components I want, and to get the mapping in the other groupings, we select Groupings, Mapping, and Other Lead Sheets, etc. There are further options available to us to determine how that grouping would come in, whether we're going to completely overwrite what we currently have or if we're going to merge them together. That's all available in the Copy Component options. I'm going to back out of here without actually performing Copy Components. We already have a mapping database available to us right here.